Today's adventure begins by me feeding the meter, if you will. Downtown Orlando. I put quite a few dollars in this and just scooter around, show a few things downtown that I have recollection of, and a topic I've never covered before that might be an interesting one that a lot of people might not even know happened here in downtown Orlando. Welcome everyone, Adam the Woo here as the recording of this February 28th, the last day of February. I think there's an R in there, so February 28th, 2022. Piping hot caffeinated beverage, which is kind of lukewarm now. I got this on the way out of Celebration. Traffic gets a little backed up in certain areas of I-4. It's usually not too bad compared to LA, but today must have been some road work or something, so it took a little while. So this is no longer piping hot, but it is still kind of lukewarm. Blueberry flavored also, I should mention. Blueberry flavored from this place. 1991, a certain event happened by a rocker, punk rocker, whatever, a shock artist, if you will, here in town, over on Church Street. And I'm gonna show where that happened at Club Spacefish. I'm gonna show some other stuff too. I'm inviting you to join me. Shall you? Now over here appears to be an old newspaper stand or an ATM. The only reason I say newspaper stand is look at this old Orlando Sentinel that's no longer being used here. Also, on the subject of music, over here used to be a venue by the name of Club Firestone. And I don't know, 10, 12, 15 years ago, give or take, I was in a band and we opened up for the Misfits in there. This is before Danzig rejoined. It was just Jerry and the other guys. But still pretty cool, right inside of there. In fact, I played in there quite a few times. And I like this United Trophy building across the way here with the kind of retro looking architecture. Never noticed that before. One thing about the courthouse here, you'll always see birds circling above it. There's only one or two circling above it now. Now that I say that, the birds have gone on the other side of the building. But this was seen pretty often by a lot of news media back when the Casey Anthony trial was happening. Might be familiar to you if you follow that at all. And a lot of other cases, obviously, but that's what I know it most from keeping up with that case a while back. I am approaching the Ace Cafe here on Livingston. Oh, it's bumpy. It's very bumpy. But this is the former home of The Edge. Used to be the Edge concert field next to it. The Edge had a lot of shows. In fact, the line used to stretch through here. Those who were trying to gain admission. The first Warped Tour was right here in this parking lot. I went to the first Warped Tour that was here. They had a little skate deck out front here, so bands would play in the shed around back, and then also in here, and then the skaters would be right in here. I also saw Green Day on the Dookie Tour right here, Soundgarden, Pantera, a bunch of other bands. But the Edge shed is what I really remember around the back. Inside I saw a lot of other bands. Hole was one of them. Mighty Mighty Bosstones, all right inside the Ace Cafe. I mentioned that before a couple of years ago, but it's been a while since I've been back through this property. Over where these tennis courts are is where the Edge shed was. Oh yeah, a lot of memories in there. I am heading over to Club Spacefish though. But right here was the Edge shed, where these tennis courts are. Naughty by Nature played here. In '91, I won tickets off of XL 106.7 radio station, and Shaquille O'Neal. It's before I really got into like a lot of the punk scene and stuff. I had never won anything, ever. So I went to the show. It was right here where these tennis courts are. And Shaquille O'Neal, who was a rookie for the Orlando Magic, went over from the game because the stadium was just right across the street. And he was kind of in the pit slamming around. And he was about 2 or 3 feet taller than everyone else. He's a tall guy. So just imagine straight ahead there where those palm trees are, on the other side of those palm trees where the new Lynx bus station is, was the parking lot for the Edge. That's where the stage was, right there on Livingston. So all the way where those cars are parked on the other end of the parking lot. Now I have no personal memories of Club Spacefish. This event that I'm about to talk about happened when my family moved here in 1991. I didn't really start going to shows and stuff till probably late 93, 94. But this is an infamous moment in Orlando music history. And I believe the building it still stands. Hopefully it still stands when I get up here. Gotta go past Central and then over onto Church. Around these parts, you never know if something's gonna be bulldozed and progress is gonna rear its head. Like over here, this empty lot has recently been torn down. But with the skyline off in the distance, this is the Amway Center, corner of Church Street and Division. And in the Paramore Historic District, right over there, was Club Spacefish. It still stands. I'm happy to say. Well, I don't know if happy is the word, but I'm here to say it still stands. It was November 8th of '91, the only Florida appearance of the one and only GG Allin. A very, I don't know if the word interesting is the word. Yeah, GG Allin was here in Orlando for one night only and ended up in jail after this. Now, I've always liked the punk rock genre, even things that are kind of shocking or a little overboard. However, I was never into what GG Allin stood for or did, but I don't know if I would have wanted to have been at the show that took place inside Club Spacefish down here at the end at 536 when him and one of his other bandmates slung poo at the audience and ran out of this very door completely nude, naked in the streets before being arrested, and a number of other things, but those are the two key points. And a newscast stood across the street and reported on it right over there, easily findable online with a quick search. Can find that newscast. Shepard Smith, I believe, at the time worked for Channel 6, who has gone on to other things, but he was standing right over there, and it was a live newscast. Maybe the following day, maybe that same evening, and some of the people that were here inside the building came out, some of the youth, and they were kind of, you know, waving at the camera and whatnot across the road. And this whole area has been developed quite a bit. It's now called the Nightshade Lounge. And that building there was not there as well. In fact, all of these are new buildings. And I was looking at the flyer, and it said something about Dee Dee Ramone being in the backing band of GG, but I cannot find any confirmation that Dee Dee Ramone was here on property that evening. It was just Allin and one of the other guys in the backing band that ended up incarcerated for the evening. Right in this very door, 536 Church Street. It had a pretty unique logo, looked like a fish, but as I scroll over, you'll see up here, it says, "This is as real as it seems." Like nothing else you'll ever encounter. But see up here? Featuring Dee Dee Ramone. I can find no confirmation about Dee Dee being here. Even though I did see the Ramones over at the Edge where I just was. I saw them back in the 90s, which is cool. Now here's one of the most famous photos from that evening. In fact, this is used when you just search GG in any type, which I don't recommend doing. This is one of the photos that pop up. Who knew this happened right inside this very door? And there used to be this pole in here. That's been covered up by some new brickwork. Try to visualize, if you will. That pole's probably behind that wall, that new wall that's been added. Now the newscast kind of had a dance group the next day when they were doing the newscast talking about it, and there were some people dancing in here doing aerobics. Little did they know, and probably most people that are in here frequenting this place now, that some poo was being slung around in great amounts and great ounces of dung thrown around through here. Interesting, right? It's just saying it kind of makes me... What if you attended the show? It was featured on News Night 6, local station here in town. That was the next day when they went in to do the report. But you can see it's still the same size of the room and everything. And the stage was towards the back, kind of where I just had the camera pointed, all the way towards the back of the end. And there's Shepard Smith reporting from across the way. I moved across to get the angle. I used to have an awning that said Enterprises above it. But you could see everyone coming out to get on the live broadcast. So Shepard was standing right here where my scooter now is, and Club Spacefish, you know, from the angle of him standing there, would have been right there where those two gentlemen are standing, where I just was on that far corner over there. Now to paraphrase, or kind of quote, "Michelle, we must warn, what you're gonna see and hear is quite graphic, but it's true." That was what he said at the beginning of the newscast. Standing right there. But it's true. I just wonder if the owners even know. I think the owners know? And he goes on to say, to continue, you really got to see the newscast. He goes on to say that Club Spacefish prides itself on things that are the cutting edge. That was their words that he was quoting. And people showed up and paid $7. This is the report, what the report said, for a man to defecate into his own hand while nude. This was on the evening news. Okay, now this is interesting. I peeked in this side of the door, still part of 536. I was looking in the other door a moment ago, but I'm noticing when looking in this one, the photos match up a little more because there is a wall here that's a brick wall that you could see in those old photos and videos that runs along here. But if you look in the window, there is still a stage way back there. I'm not seeing the pole, except the pole could have been where the brick is now covering it up over to the side there. Let me kind of like zoom in just a little bit more. So that pole could be covered over there to the side by that brick. That could be the photo, the brick we see in all the photos of the newscasts. And it could possibly be the same stage. Possibly. Even though it's been repurposed. And this is his mugshot from Orlando that night. By the way, I just checked the footage back. It's not the same stage, but it looks like it's in that same area. And the interview with the club owner at the time said, he relieved himself and did it all. That was his quote. And then he went on pretty much to say, you name it, he did it. And after people out here on the road, they interviewed a few other people who saw the commotion, him and his bandmate running out here in their birthday suits, even though it wasn't their birthday. Then the police came in, went through the door, and took him to jail. And from what I've heard, he was not allowed to come back to Florida, or at least had a warrant out, because he never showed back up for the court case. Because he went to jail, they released him and the other bandmate, and never went back to go to court or anything like that. No shock there. I mean, he's a shocking guy, but there's no shock that he didn't show back up for his court date. Yeah, right here, 536 West Church Street, what is now the Nightshade Lounge. It used to be Club Spacefish. If this was modern day, it would be all over the internet. Everyone would be outside, you know, grabbing their phones, filming it. There would be footage of the naked rampage running right down Church Street. And if that was modern day, you would see GG and his bandmate going right past this "Today is a Good Day" down that very sidewalk. Very rambunctious. I never did see GG in concert. I don't know if I would have wanted to. Probably looking back, I'd maybe stand in the very, very back corner behind a shield of some sort. He was really notorious and not really a great guy. Usually around the back of a venue is where bands will load their equipment in. So they probably had their van parked back here where my scooter is. And this is looking around the back of the property, you know, loading the equipment in, drums and guitar, amps and stuff like that, through that back door. So the stage would have been right back here. There were other things too, you know, other body functions. Urine and things. Yeah, that's yeah. What a moment in Orlando history, right? Look at this building next to it with the interesting blocks. That's pretty cool. It's also interesting that this happened on Church Street, because there was no church happening inside this building. His church, whatever his mentality of worship was. And it's just adjacent to where the Orlando Magic play their games, the Amway Arena. It used to be a place called the O-Arena, which was the Orlando Magic Arena. Nickname, well, not nickname, but called the O-Arena, a couple blocks away. Closer to the Edge shed and all that I was mentioning. But now it's the Amway Center. A lot of progress happening around these parts. Of course, when you think of Church Street, you can't help but mention the touristy area of Church Street, which is about a block away from where I just was. Over there is an alligator inside of a swan boat with an umbrella painted on the side of that mural. Also, before I moved to Celebration, I thought about moving into this building right here. I think it's called 55 West. I didn't really like it. I mean, I liked it, but I didn't want to be right downtown, at least at that point in my life. But I did look at an apartment in there. Didn't happen. I'm going to attempt to go through here on the brick. Yeah, I'm getting some dragon sound vibes through here. Getting some serious dragon sound vibes. If you know that movie. I covered it before, but yeah. Some good scenes happen right through here. I covered that extensively before, but that reminds me of through here. And this place really is not in its prime of what it once was. Back in the 90s, this place was a beehive of activity. I'm sure at night it gets pretty busy, but this place was a mecca of tourism, one of the most highly promoted places in Orlando. On par with anything you would think of today, tourism-wise. This is how this place was. Every little visitor center you'd go to would promote Church Street Station. It's not really to that extent anymore. I mean, it's still, people come down here on the weekends and evenings, but not like it was. There was also a venue up here called Back Booth. Oh, that's bumpy. The Back Booth was right over here on this side.
I got another question.
Yeah, Back Booth was located right here. I played a lot of shows in there as well when I was in bands and whatnot. Across the road there's a bunch of steam going out of those pipes. It is now a place called Cocktails and Screams. There's me right there. How's it going? Looks like someone has smeared something on there too. Hopefully that's not the work of a GG Allin impersonator, which, interesting fact, there was a GG Allin impersonator in Orlando that also was arrested a few years ago. Yeah, the tradition continues. But over here, abandon hope, all ye who enter. And these are not the doors you're looking for, but they are the doors I'm looking for, because this is where Back Booth was. You would load in from the back. I can't remember if I loaded in around the back or around the front. It's been so long though. But right through here, the bar's off to the side, and the stage was kind of like that way, maybe like 20 feet. Merchandise would be over here through those doors. Yeah, good times. And of course, this is where Harmony Star was running, trying to get away from her restaurant bill that she wasn't going to pay for. And Ernest Saves Christmas, right along here, goes to this very corner. And then Jim Varney in the cab, he was a cabbie, was riding right over through here, and he saw her and picked her up right on this corner. And here is Wall Street Plaza, where a lot of outdoor events would take place. Our friends the Supervillains, which played a lot of shows with them back in the day, would always perform here for street festivals and whatnot. And across the way used to be Downtown Jazz and Blues Club, the Social, Sapphire Supper Club. I think it's called the Social now, but I went to quite a few concerts over there. And there used to be, right where this awning is, you see right there, used to be a Subway, and I used to go in there and get a sub at that Subway before or after shows. Yeah, I'm having flashbacks of getting myself a meal from that Subway. Oh, there must be an apartment there. There's people out on the little balcony above where the Subway doors used to be. And something's going on this evening. There's even a line in front of the Social at the Beecham. Something's going on tonight. Still kind of early though. People are already lined up. Getting a little peek inside. Getting a peek in. There's some guy yelling at everyone waiting in line across the street. So you got everyone hanging out over here, but then there's a couple of guys kind of yelling across the street, almost like very cliche yelling and saying obscene things.
The beach. So there is a sign. Yeah, they are.
At one point, 64 North was called Barbecue Bar. And then Barbarella was what it was called way back in the day. But then it would change their name to something else for like a decade or two. And then recently became Barbarella again. It's good to see this called Barbarella again. However, I was hearing a rumor that maybe it wasn't going to be Barbarella anymore. I don't know. You always hear hearsay and whatnot. I saw the Toasters and Murphy's Law in here back in the day. Pretty crazy show. I mentioned that before. I haven't dove into obviously the slinging of the poo story, but I have talked about the Toasters Murphy's Law that was inside of here. Good times. And this place I have frequented on many occasions, Planet Pizza. In fact, if I lived downtown, if I had moved downtown, which I'm glad I didn't, but if I did, I would probably be over at this Planet Pizza on a pretty regular basis. It's a pretty awesome looking artwork and murals downtown here, kind of going along this area. And there's a courtyard over here where years ago, probably still there was a guy and his alligator, or maybe a guy wrestling an alligator. It's been a while. This is also the library. Yeah, that's their library. I said that thinking I knew what it was, but now I see it on the side. It is the library. That is pretty cool architecture. Oh, I can see the alligator and handler from here. Looks like someone's taking a nap over here too, on their cell phone, enjoying the day. Right there, still here. A lot of gators around these parts. In fact, this one is being wrestled by a gentleman. This one over here does not have anyone on its back. This one does. How you doing, buddy? You doing good? Quintessential Orlando landmark. At least for me it is. I've seen it a bunch of times. With the city bus going by very quickly. Interesting story here. Back in 2005 at the Stagger Inn, band I was in at that time had a show booked at back booth, and it ended up not happening. Either the promoter didn't want it to happen or the sound guy didn't show up, something. So I walked around to a few different places, went to a couple of different establishments and bars, ended up at the Stagger Inn and said, hey, we got a few bands that would like to play a show. Do you have a PA? I said, yeah, we have a PA. So we ended up booking the show impromptu in there, told the few people that were in line over at the back booth to come over here. We had a makeshift show inside the Stagger Inn, and fun fact, I mentioned that it was the last time that I recall really drinking alcohol right inside the Stagger Inn. There's one or two other times, but this is the main time. And that would have been in 2005. I remember after the show was over, I thought, you know what, this isn't really me. I'm not really a drinker. I'm not gonna drink anymore. And about a year later, I was at a party at my friend's house and had 2 Smirnoff Ices. That's the kind of drinker I was. I didn't really like beer too much. I like kind of the fruity drinks. But I did a year later drink 2 just to see, would I like it? Would I enjoy it? And I decided I wouldn't. And then since then, I think maybe 6 months ago, I was at Epcot. I was with a friend who drinks, and she was like, you should just try it. I took a sip. I took 1 sip of her beverage, and I said, yeah, I don't like the feel of alcohol. It's just not for me. I know some people like it. Nothing against that, but it's not really my thing. And I do get asked a lot why I don't. And honestly, it's just, I don't know, just for me, it just seems natural to not. It seems unnatural for me personally to be non-sober. It just feels more natural for me to be sober. That's just me. And that goes for everything else, not just booze, but other. With the skyline off in the distance, these seats are in front of the Walt Disney, named for Walt Disney, amphitheater. Right here on Lake Eola. And this bird, hello bird. I don't want to get too close, bird. I don't want to get too close, but I do want to show that fountain over there, this majestic fountain that is off in the distance. There it is. Oh, the bird's going by. Bird's going off. Flying off. Didn't mean to disturb you, bird. The seagulls, this isn't the seagulls. This is just a lake. The seagulls are perched over there. They are not scurrying off. Majestic fountain. Also, I'm noticing the swan boats that are usually rented out over there are not at the moment being rented out. Maybe that business has pulled out of the Lake Eola area, the downtown area. I did those years ago. I was thinking about redoing them again and maybe going out on the swan boats, but that's not going to happen because they're not there. There's also a fire truck going by. There's some real swans, but no swan boats. That's what that dock was. There is a place for a long time I've tried to figure out exactly what the name of it was or where it was, on the corner of Magnolia and Robinson Street. But over here, one of these very unique older buildings used to be a CD store. It's only there for a short time. This would have been in '94. Bought a few CDs there. In fact, it was one of the few places that you could get bootlegs. So when Green Day, Dookie came out, got very popular. A friend I had at the time, me and him came up here and got the bootleg from Woodstock on CD. This is way before YouTube, where you could just look all that stuff up or download it on any sharing programs. But it was located over here on North Magnolia Ave at one of those buildings. And I've racked my brain for a long time to figure out what the name of it was. But to no, I'm gonna say avail because I went to see Avail last night, but to no avail. Didn't mean to make a pun. Oh, there's a cactus here. And Chef wants to give me a fist bump, but I have a camera in one hand, Chef, and hand on the other one. Couldn't do it, Chef. A lot of, oh, another Lynx bus going by. A lot of construction here on the corner of Livingston going on. A lot of construction. I got the walk sign. Now I'm gonna go through the little front atrium area of the courthouse I went by. I parked down this way, so I'm going back to my car. Oh yeah. You know, in all the years I've been around this region, I've never been up in the front here. I've always just seen it from the street view. There it is, the Orange County Courthouse. I wonder if there was a fountain right there where those shrubs are now. I'm gonna guess there probably was a fountain there at one point. All these buildings are new. All these buildings are new through here. Not the courthouse, but that's what I'm pointing at. Made it over to Mills Ave now. And truth be told, I have thought recently about starting another band or joining one of my previous bands, or you know, doing something like that, whether it be a reunion of a former band I was in or starting something new, putting a new project together, doing a one-off show, or even just thinking out loud, possibly doing a tour. If I did something like that, it would definitely be some certain ways I would want to do things. Play smaller places, not really charge for said things. If it was, it would be very low door fee or anything, or no door fee at all. I would just want to do it just out of the fun of what it would be. But I'm bringing that up because the kind of place I would like to play, if, this is a big if, nothing in the works at all, but if it ever happened down the road, a year from now, 2 years from now, a week from now, it's not going to happen a week from now because this is the first time I've even mentioned it. I really thought about it heavily. But I would want to play at a place like this, Uncle Lou's Music Bar, which is this teeny tiny place. This is the kind of place I would want to play at. I'd want to do it in sort of an impulsive kind of way where, I mean, obviously it'd be promoted to some degree, but I wouldn't want it to be a whole thing. Maybe it would be a whole thing. As stated, I probably should have thought this through before I just started kind of rambling on about it. But these are the kind of places I miss. Just little like dive bars like this. Can't even see inside there. Yeah, it's all, can't even see in there. But they are open. And this place is only just a little one-room establishment. That's the kind of thing I want to do. Just show up. Places without a stage would even be better. You know, I don't know if that day will ever happen, but I wanted to give Uncle Lou's here a little shout out because this place is a staple. I hope it's still open. Is it still open? Maybe later tonight? I don't know. I've seen a lot of shows here. A lot of my friends' bands have played here. It's right here on Mills Ave. But yeah, just to put it out there, I have thought about doing music again at some point. Maybe one day. I bought a bass guitar about a year ago. Give or take about a year ago. I haven't really even touched it, but I haven't been in a band in about 9 years. 2013, I believe, was the last time I was on stage with the band. I played in a band, Guttermouth, from Southern California for a couple of years. Before that, I was in a few other bands around the Central Florida area. Oh, one other thing when it pertains to that subject matter. What if I started a band And everything, the show was free. Everything was free. The t-shirts were free, the merchandise was free, everything was free. I'm at the point in my life where I just want to do stuff, not about the money. I don't know if I'd ever be able to find other bandmates that would agree with me on that, but maybe they could be paid from another source. I don't know. That would be a very difficult conundrum, because I don't know if everyone else would have the same thought process as I do. But I just think it would be neat to play, impulsively, like the night before, maybe like one day before. Go a place like this. We're not playing here because we haven't started. I haven't started anything yet. But if I was the night before, maybe that morning, say, hey, this place tonight, 8 p.m. Something like that would be neat, free. Or just show up, start playing, have the opening bands before, then start posting on social media and just see who's in the area show up and do a tour like that. Almost like a mystery. Use your Columbo-like research skills. All this is completely unbased on any sort of factual thought process that I'm having. That's probably ever going to happen. And that's going to do it for today. Doing the outro, looking at the clouds. No real rhyme or reason for looking at the clouds, but I am looking at the clouds. I'll see you in the next video of the vlog. Wait, did someone just throw something? What is that? Is that poo? Oh, it's not. Whew, that was a close one. The vlog is over.